This will have absolutely nothing to do with the coronavirus epidemic. This is entitled Lifelike. I was out on a little walk a few days ago, and for some reason, or maybe no reason at all, I found myself thinking about the word lifelike. It's a funny word, lifelike. How we say something, a painting or a sculpture, is lifelike. It looks like the living thing it represents. It has verisimilitude, a fancy way of saying lifelike. Verisimilitude may sound more impressive, but I decided to stick with lifelike. Lifelike not only means lifelike, it also is lifelike. That's because the word like is very close in sound to the word life. So like is like life, close but not exact. And lifelike means that too. The created work is like life, a close but not exact resemblance. I saw a production of the play Red on TV recently, or at least I caught most of it. It's about the abstract impressionist painter Mark Rothko, about whom I've written one of these. 2 years of his life when he was working on what came to be known as the Seagram murals, commissioned to grace the walls of a restaurant, the Four Seasons, in that building. Rothko got the prestigious commission, and in the play, he is working on the paintings. With him is an assistant. Their relationship is key to the play. At first, it is all Rothko bluster, but Ken, the assistant, finally fires back, and at the end, Rothko tells him to go. There's nothing more for him there. He needs to go into the world and make his own art, make them look, make something new. Before that, Rothko, goaded by Ken, who defends pop artists and calls Rothko out as a pompous, pretentious old lion, Rothko pays a visit to the Four Seasons and is repulsed by what he sees and hears, the clatter of the silverware, the gnashing of teeth, the insipid sound of small talk, the suffocating signs of snobbery. He thinks about his work hanging on these walls, and he says, "Will they ever forgive me?" "They'll be all right," Ken says. "They're just paintings." But for Rothko, they are not just paintings. They are real, the most real things in his life, the closest he has come to saying what he wants to say about life. They are lifelike. They are about life and death, chaos and order, time and eternity. They are lifelike, and he cannot consign them to an existence on the walls of that restaurant. He calls Philip Johnson, the architect of the Seagram building, and he says, "Sorry, Phil, but I can't ship the paintings." There were 30 of them, and they remained in storage for years, finally finding their way to several museums, like the Tate in London. I think that great artists want their work to be lifelike, whether it is representational or not. Da Vinci, in his notebooks, studied life, the mechanisms for it, for years, so that his work would be lifelike. I saw a show about a violin maker. He was an expert craftsman, made 2 violins for Isaac Stern, and he knew who owned them after Mr. Stern passed on. When he held the violins in his hands, that was not the end of the finished work. That came when the instrument was played. I know it's not a living thing, he said, but the interaction of the instrument and the musician, seeking to produce a sound as close as possible to the one he could hear in his head. Again, lifelike. The idea of having your art come to life is called a trope. The most famous expression of this is the story of the sculptor Pygmalion. He fashioned a statue of a beautiful young woman out of, I think, ivory. And it's so beautiful that he falls in love with it. One day he kisses it and thinks he can feel warmth in her lips. So he kisses it again, and like Sleeping Beauty, she comes to life. They marry and have children, a boy and a girl. Versions of the story vary. Notice now that the art is living. Notice now that the art is living, it is no longer timeless. Shakespeare's sonnets are all about the effect of time on beauty and how the only safe haven for beauty is in art. Keats's Grecian Urn is about timeless beauty, cold, pastoral. Art has that advantage because it is not life. Gertrude Stein, in her completed portrait of Picasso, is all over the relation of art and life. Pinocchio is another way to tell the tale, with the addition that when the puppet comes to life, it is a toy. It has a great deal of learning and suffering to do before it can become a boy. And then there's Frankenstein, more about science than art, but the creation does come to life, a bitter existence because it was rejected by its creator. Rothko could not bring himself to abandon his work. Had he done so, the paintings would have hung like miserable accusations, haunting him to his grave. Better to put them in storage than to send them to a place where they would never be seen for what they were, lifelike, not slavish decoration.